Let's talk about Emilia Pérez and how it became the most hated film of 2024, because wow. Now I would just like to rewind back a few months, perhaps to September, October, when I saw this film in cinema, and I would just like to hold my hand up and say, I didn't hate it. Like I actually really liked Emilia Pérez. Yes, it's different. Yes, it's a little esoteric. It's a little bit kind of random at times. It's a different approach to talking about some of the subjects that they discuss in that film, like to do with a sort of trans experience, but from the perspective of a criminal, from the perspective of a terrible, terrible woman who has, murdered people, tortured people, done horrible things in Mexico, but kind of going through her transition and how she wants to be this person that she knows she truly is. And so even though you have this exterior that is very machismo, that is very violent and brutal and terrifying, she also has that inner self that wants to break free and wants to be able to live in her truth. And so she hires Zoe Saldana's character to assist her in that, in the most, again, scary, terrifying manner, kind of kidnaps Zoe Saldana and tells her to get this sorted. So yeah, you're taking on this journey of transition, of self-acceptance, but also of complete reinvention as someone who committed horrible crimes, did horrible, horrible things, and destroyed communities in their past and in their old body, is able to reform themselves and try and give back to communities, try and somehow pay reparations to all of the people that they did wrong to and whose lives were destroyed by their criminal activities and enterprises. All the while you have singing and dancing and romance and baby mama drama. Like, it's a whole situation. And honestly, my overwhelming thoughts coming out of Emilia Pérez is, wow, there really is no other film like this. I can't really think of another film that is quite like this one. It's unique. Like, that's one thing you cannot take away from this film. It is quite unique, at least to my knowledge. So that was pretty much the beginning and end of my thoughts on Emilia Pérez. Like, I was like, damn, that was wild and crazy, but I kind of liked it and it's very unique, so I commend Netflix for making it. Cool, okay, let's get some lunch. Like, but I should have known. I should have known that would have been the end, because here comes Twitter, here comes social media, people online, and they were trashing this film. Now, this film had a limited theatrical release, so at the beginning the trashing was quiet, and in fact most people were just kind of mixed to slightly positive on the film, and those were the people that actually went out and watched the film in theaters. But when it became available on Netflix for all to see, for the masses to consume, oh, that's when everyone got louder with their opinions on this film. And the initial criticism was its handling of trans issues, which I cannot even begin to claim to have much knowledge on. So I can't really say if this film did justice to such complex issues through its very quirky and different approach. Like, I can't really say that, but I did see the clips that people were posting, especially of Zoe Saldana talking to this doctor from Thailand, and they're actually they're singing, they're not even talking. They're singing and they're talking about the different surgeries for transitioning, and people kind of reposted that clip as sort of evidence for how terrible this film is. I would say that people posted that clip without context, which made it look worse than it actually was, within the film itself, because within the wider context you see how that tone kind of fit, and the sort of irreverence and surrealist tone of the musical sequence makes sense within the context of the film. But of course people weren't gonna stop and think about that. Like, that would take nuance, which no one has. Literally no one has nuance, so they just reposted the clip being like, look how terrible this film is. Okay, fine. Then we got on to the second stage of the Emilia Pérez hatred, and that was to do with Miss Selena Gomez. That was to do with Miss Selena Gomez. And honestly, this is the part that I can get on board with. This is the part of the hating that I can definitely get on board with, because really and truly, she was the worst part of the film. Like I said before in my Golden Globes video, she's one of those actresses that I don't understand. Like, it doesn't click for me why she is so highly regarded and almost revered as an actress. I've said this for years. I do not think she is a spectacular actress. Oh, sorry, I just don't. Listen, I liked Wizards of Waverly Place back in the day as much as any old person, as much as any old tween did back in 2010, okay? I'm not taking that away from her whatsoever. But I have also since seen seasons of Only Murders in the Building, and I have seen her be nominated for Golden Globes and Emmys for her performance in that show, and I've been left baffled. I've been left confused and confuddled because I am not seeing the brilliance that others have been seeing. But fine, you know, if Martin Shaw and Steve Martin are also going to be nominated, then she might as well tag along in there, whatever. But where I absolutely draw the line was the awards campaign for Selena Gomez for Emilia Pérez. This is where it just, you've absolutely lost me. And honestly, the only explanation that I can come up for this is that she is a producer on the film, and perhaps it was a requirement that if the film was going to go for an Oscars campaign or awards campaign, that she would also be put forward for her performance in the film. Like that's the only way that I can kind of navigate this maze of misunderstanding, because otherwise it literally doesn't make sense. On the basis of her performance alone, all of this awards talk literally makes no sense. And her absence in this list, okay, for the Academy, shows that the Academy clocked. The Academy clocked and said, absolutely not, Selena. You stand back over there, because based off of her performance, she does not belong here. It wasn't just the fact that Selena's not the strongest actor that made people annoyed by her performance in the film. It was also the fact that she's not a great Spanish speaker. Again, people took this out of context, because in the film itself, it's very clear that she's not native to Mexico. She's actually American. And she says many times that she wants to go home to Florida, where her sister lives. And so it makes sense, you know, within the context of the film, that she is not a fluent Spanish speaker. But people were annoyed that she was present in the film at all as someone who doesn't speak Spanish fluently, especially because, you know, in the past she has benefited from a Latin American audience. She's released Latin American songs and albums, and so people are like, really? Like, you've made so much money out of the Latin American market, but you haven't bothered to up your Spanish game? Like, that's kind of an insult. Like, that's the approach that people had also when it came to Selena Gomez's performance in the film, to which I would say, listen, this is not my bag, this is not my business, but get her again. Get her again. Like, it is kind of inexcusable. Speaking of inexcusable, remember what I said about Adrian Brody and the AI situation? Yeah, Emilia Pérez is in a similar boat, apparently, because they also used similar technology for that film, and people were speculating that it was to assist Selena Gomez with her Spanish speaking, although considering the end result, perhaps the AI didn't pull up as much as it needed to. And then on top of all of that, as if this isn't juicy enough, you have the fact that Emilia Pérez is directed by a French director. Emilia Pérez is a French film, which pissed people off for many reasons, but they just felt like, you know, the fact that it was made by a French director explains the mishandling of the trans issues, but also the misrepresentation of Mexico. So this Frenchman has compounded all of these issues, and it certainly doesn't help that this film has not only been nominated for Best Picture, but also Best International Film coming out of France. So yeah, people are pissed, people are angry, people are dismayed by Emilia Pérez, and that's how it became the most hated film of 2024.